What do you get when you mix a fake death, a samurai sword, and a cult of vegan anarchists who dress like Sith lords? You get the bizarre saga of Jack Ziz Lasota and the Zizians, a case so absurdly convoluted, it sounds like a dark comedy thriller. You'll hear how a 34-year-old computer engineer turned cult leader allegedly faked her death, led a band of fringe followers across state lines, and left a trail of chaos from California to Vermont. It's a story of murder, mayhem, and mild delirium. And this is absolutely criminal.
Now on to new developments in the cult-like group that has been linked to multiple murders across the country. And today, the leader of that group was ordered to be held without bail in a Maryland court.
Jack Lasota from Berkeley was arrested on Sunday, along with 2 other members of the Zizian group.
3 suspects appeared in a Maryland courtroom Tuesday morning facing gun and trespassing charges, but they have apparent ties to a cult-like group called the Zizians with Bay Area connections. Prosecutors said 34-year-old Jack Lasota from Berkeley appears to be the leader of an extremist group known as Zizians that has been linked to 6 murders in 3 states.
That news clip is from February 2025, when Jack Ziz Lasota was finally arrested after years of allegedly deadly escapades. By then, authorities say the Zizians had been linked to 6 killings across 3 states. And yet, when hauled into court, Jack's biggest concern wasn't the murderers. It was lunch. In true cult leader flair, Jack Ziz Lasota, a self-described transgender vegan Sith, told a judge that she was basically too hungry to cause trouble. Bold words from someone accused of orchestrating a cross-country crime spree. So how did we get here? To answer that, we need to rewind and start at the beginning of Ziz's wild journey. The death and life of Jack. Jack. What the heck is going on here? My audio is all jumbled up. I'm not sure if it's a ghost in the machine or, I just recently saw an ad for something regarding a VHS or a VIP.
It's VPN, Mom. Jeez. Looks like your computer's acting up because it's not secure as it should be. You really need to stop replying to every sussed email that comes your way. Stop writing your passwords on sticky notes.
Maddie, it's one password, thank you very much, and I use it everywhere.
Then why do you write it down?
That's not important. I've got my voiceover glitching like an old TV set. My dad is going who knows where, and my computer is practically a doorstop at this point. What kind of digital nightmare is this?
That's exactly why you need Aura, Mom. Aura is like a digital bodyguard that not only keeps your personal data safe from those pesky hackers and data brokers, but it also helps prevent unexpected glitches by managing your online security for you.
So, you're telling me that while I'm busy dealing with these mysterious tech troubles, Aura is out there working behind the scenes to keep my info safe and sound?
Exactly, Mom. Aura even keeps an eye on the dark web for any signs of your personal data being exposed. Plus, with its built-in VPN, you get over 100 virtual locations to choose from. It's like having a secret safe house anywhere on the internet.
Well, I'll be glitched. It sounds like with Aura, I can focus on being the narrator about crimes rather than being the victim of crime.
That's right, Mom. Folks, If you're tired of living in a digital mess like my mother here, click the link in the description to try Aura for 14 days free. Trust me, you don't want to pass up this opportunity. Your data, your sanity, and even your mother will thank you.
Now that my tech troubles are taken care of, let's get back to unraveling the mysteries of the Zizians. Stay right here, because our next segment is just as unhinged and unpredictable as my computer was. Our story opens with a death, or at least the appearance of one. In August 2022, Jack Lasota vanished and was presumed dead after a supposed boating accident. An obituary in Jack's hometown paper in Fairbanks, Alaska, solemnly declared that Jack had died on August 19, 2022. It reminisced about Jack's loving adventure, friends and family, music, blueberries, biking, computer games, and animals. An oddly wholesome epitaph for someone about to be accused of murder. It's unlikely there will be fresh blueberries where she's going. Jack's family in California believed she had fallen into the San Francisco Bay and drowned. By late 2022, Lasota was legally dead, complete with grieving parents and a eulogy filled with berry fondness. Case closed, right? Wrong, because just like a cheesy horror flick, our dead antagonist was about to make a surprise comeback. On November 13, 2022, a mere 3 months after the boating death, Jack resurfaced, very much alive and at a crime scene in Vallejo, California. The Sonoma County District's Attorney's Office informed Jack's astonished attorney that Jack had been found alive and well in the middle of an ongoing criminal investigation. Why had Jack faked her death? How did she go from a watery grave to turning up at a crime scene in California? Authorities didn't have answers yet, but one thing was clear. Jack Lasota was back, and she didn't come back quietly. Little did anyone know Ziz's resurrection was only the beginning. The real chaos was about to erupt in a Bay Area backyard. Our next act takes place in Vallejo, California at the home of 80-year-old Kurt Lind, a man who would soon regret ever renting to Jack's friends. After cheating death, Lasota and some loyal Zizians needed a new hideout. They ended up squatting on Kurt Lind's property, hatching a plan to live stealthily in the old man's yard. How stealthy? By parking moving trucks on his land and converting them into secret living quarters. Surprise! The landlord noticed. When Lind tried to evict these unwanted guests, members of the Zizian cult attacked him with a samurai sword. Yes, you heard that correctly. A samurai sword. Apparently, the Zizians took the whole Sith warrior cosplay a bit too seriously.
Patrick McMillan shows us how he found his landlord early Sunday morning, crouching over, bleeding, with a samurai sword through his chest.
He banged on my door and I woke up and came out. He said, "I'm dying," and he had blood squirting out of him and that sword sticking through him.
That vivid account by a friend of Kurt Lind paints the gory picture. Lind was stabbed clean through the torso, his face slashed, left for dead. The attackers, later identified as members of Jack's Zizian inner circle, literally tried to skewer an elderly man. But Kurt Lind was tough as nails. He may have taken a katana to the kidney, but his attacker brought a sword to a gunfight, and this 80-year-old landlord wasn't checking out yet. Lind managed to grab his firearm and shoot 2 of his assailants, killing one on the spot. The deceased attacker was Emma Borhanian, a devout Zizian whose cult career ended rather ingloriously when she met the business end of Lind's gun. The surviving attackers fled in chaos. Amid the melee, police arrived and found a scene of carnage fit for a Tarantino film. One dead cultist, others wounded, and Lind miraculously alive. And who should turn up amid this bloody backyard brawl? Jack Ziz Lesota herself, very much not dead and allegedly right there at the crime scene. Officers reportedly handcuffed Jack at gunpoint on the scene, undoubtedly wondering if they were busting a ghost. Yet, in a twist of either luck or lack of evidence, Jack was not charged in the sword attack. She slipped through the fingers of justice again. The mugshot from that period says it all. Jack in custody with her eyes shut, literally refusing to face reality. If I can't see the cops, maybe they can't see me. It was a brazen display of defiance from the self-styled cult leader. Jack had dodged serious charges by the hair of her chitty chin chin, but the Zizians weren't done huffing and puffing just yet. Lind had survived this round, but in the Zizian saga, revenge is a dish best served repeatedly. The Vallejo sword fight ended with one cultist dead and Lind vowing to testify against the rest. But if you think an impaled octogenarian and a resurrected cult leader were wild enough, trust us, the Zizians' crime spree was only getting started. Next up, a cross-country trail of bodies, including a double homicide that hit a little too close to home for one Zizian member. As 2022 came to a close, the Zizians brand of carnage popped up 3,000 miles away on the U.S. East Coast. On New Year's Eve 2022, in the quiet suburb of Chester Heights, Pennsylvania, Richard and Rita Zyko were found shot to death in their home. The couple had been brutally murdered, a shocking double homicide to ring in the new year. Investigators were baffled. Who would want to execute this Pennsylvania pair? The answer turned out to be an uncomfortable one. The Zyko's own daughter, Jamie, was entangled with Jack Lesota's cult. Jamie Zyko was, you guessed it, another devoted Zizian. Suddenly, what looked like a local whodunit became part of a multi-state Zizian crime web. Police quickly honed in on Jamie and her cult comrades. They suspected the murders might be linked to the Zizians' extremist agenda, or perhaps an internal purge. Cult life can be murder on family ties. 2 weeks later, in January 2023, Pennsylvania authorities got a break. They tracked Jamie Zyko to a hotel in Chester Heights. There they also found Jack Lesota and a Zizian associate, 26-year-old Daniel Blank, keeping Jamie company. Jack and Blank were promptly arrested, not for the murders, but for obstructing administration of law and disorderly conduct. The police may not have nailed Jack for murder yet, but now they had her on lesser charges and a chance to hold her accountable. Jack was extradited to Pennsylvania, and in June 2023 she was released on bail. Given her history of deception, fake death, anyone? You'd think letting the Ziz out on bail was a risky move. And you'd be right. Jack Lesota promptly stopped showing up to court and went on the lam. By mid-2023, Jack was officially a fugitive. Shocking that someone who literally faked her own death might skip bail, isn't it? The Pennsylvania authorities basically got zizzed. Jack slipped away into the shadows once more, presumably regrouping with any remaining followers and plotting whatever was next. Meanwhile, justice for the slain Zyko parents would have to wait. Jamie Zyko herself made like Ziz and stayed under the radar. And the case went unsolved for the time being. By the start of 2024, Jack Ziz Lesota was a wanted woman, believed to be dangerous, perhaps armed, and possibly driving around with a band of misfits in box trucks. The Zizians had now been linked to a sword-wielding assault in California, resulting in one death and an injured survivor, a double murder in Pennsylvania, the Zyko parents' execution style, multiple lesser crimes, squatting, obstruction, bail jumping, in between. But unbelievably, the worst was yet to come. The cult's next move would turn even deadlier, culminating in a violent showdown at the Canadian border that finally drew nationwide attention, and the house that Jack built would finally be blown down. Fast forward to January 2025. The Zizians are back on the West Coast, an elderly survivor preparing to testify against them. They have unfinished business, and they're about to spill more blood to settle the score. Remember Kurt Lind, the indomitable landlord who survived being run through with a katana? By early 2025, Lind was set to testify about that November 2022 sword attack. One of Jack's followers had died in that incident, the sword-wielding Emma, and now Jack Lasota and her cohorts faced potential attempted murder charges for nearly killing Lind. The stakes were high. If Lind testified, the law would come crashing down on Ziz and friends. The Zizians decided not to leave it to chance. On January 17, 2025, just weeks before he could take the stand, Curtis Lind was found stabbed to death in his Vallejo home. The man who had miraculously cheated death 2 years prior fell victim to a second fatal attack. A cruel do-over by the cult. Police say Lind's murder was no random crime. It was a hit, pure and simple, intended to silence him permanently. The cult had come back to finish what the samurai sword had started. The suspected killer, Maximilian Snyder, a 22-year-old Zizian disciple, who, believe it or not, had an even deeper connection to the cult's plans. Snyder had recently applied for a marriage license with none other than Teresa Youngbloot, another key Zizian member. Snyder allegedly murdered Lind to protect the cult and his betrothed from Lind's testimony. A wedding gift, Zizian style. Eliminate the witness. Till death or a jail cell do us part. Curtis Lind's death sent a clear message that the Zizians would go to any length to protect their own. But incredibly, the carnage of January 2025 wasn't over. With Lind gone, the cult's attention turned to the Northeast. By late January 2025, a band of wild Zizians was on a road trip to Vermont, of all places, with a trunk full of guns. What were they up to? The answer would come in a deadly highway showdown that finally put the Zizians on the national radar. It's the afternoon of January 20th, 2025, on a quiet stretch of Interstate 91 near the Canadian border in Coventry, Vermont. U.S. Border Patrol agent David Chris Malland pulls over a vehicle for a routine stop. Agent Malland is a 44-year-old Air Force veteran with 9 years of military service and 15 years in federal law enforcement. He has no idea what he stepped into. Inside that car are 2 Zizian cultists on a mission, and they'll kill to complete it. According to investigators, the car's occupants were Felix Ophelia Buchholz, a 23-year-old German national and devoted Zizian, and Teresa Youngbloot, the very same woman engaged to Max Snyder. The Zizians had drifted far from the Bay Area, and no one is entirely sure why Vermont became their destination. Perhaps they were laying low after Lind's murder. Perhaps there was a scheme to cross into Canada. Whatever the reason, this traffic stop turned into a deadly ambush. Agent Malland was met with gunfire almost as soon as he approached the vehicle. Buchholz and Youngbloot allegedly opened fire on the border agent, who fired back. In the ensuing shootout on the snowy highway, Agent Malland was killed in the line of duty, and Felix Buchholz was also shot dead. Teresa Youngbloot was wounded but survived, only to be promptly arrested and later charged federally in connection to Malland's death. The death of Agent Malland was a devastating blow. A public servant, beloved father and husband, was gunned down in what should have been a routine stop. All because a group of LARPing cult members decided to bring their violence to Vermont. The absurdity of the Zizians' crusade had turned into tragedy on a national scale. This wasn't just cult drama anymore. It was the murder of a federal officer, and it put the Zizians squarely in the crosshairs of the FBI and every law enforcement agency from coast to coast. Investigators soon uncovered that the guns used in the Vermont shootout had a history as twisted as the cult itself. Michelle Zyko, daughter of the slain Zykos, had purchased 2 handguns in Mount Tabor, Vermont in February of 2024, and those very weapons were used to kill Agent Milan. Even more chilling, those guns were also tied to the 2022 Zyko double murder in Pennsylvania, meaning the cult literally carried the same murder weapons across state lines for over a year. This was now a multi-state murder conspiracy. California, Pennsylvania, Vermont, all connected by the Zizians' Trail of Terror. By late February 2025, 2 Zizians were dead, Emma and Felix. 2 were in custody, young Blute and likely Jamie Zyko. And Agent Milan's murder had every investigator asking, where is Jack Ziz Lasota? The cult's alleged mastermind was still at large, presumably traveling incognito with her remaining followers. The net was closing in. All it would take was one slip-up for authorities to finally nab the self-styled Sith and bring this bizarre odyssey to an end. The break came on February 16, 2025 in Frostburg, Maryland, a small mountain town near the Maryland-Pennsylvania line. A local resident noticed something odd: 2 large box trucks parked on his remote wooded property and 3 people camping out as if it were their private KOA. These strangers even had the nerve to ask the landowner if they could camp there for a month. Sensing that something was off, perhaps the all-black attire and edgy vibes, the resident called the police on the suspicious trio. When Maryland State Police arrived, they hit the mother lode. A Jack in the box truck and her 2 loyal lieutenants on the run, Michelle Zyko, 32, and Daniel Blank, 26. After 2 years of evading capture, Ziz was finally cornered, and in fitting fashion, the cult leader and company did not go quietly. Police say Jack and her friends were dressed in black with gun belts strapped on and ammo at the ready. In the back of one truck, officers found a rifle, and on the front floorboard of another, a handgun. Michelle Zyko was caught with a pistol on her person. She even resisted arrest, forcing officers to take her to the ground before cuffing her. Jack Lasota, for all of her bravado, was arrested without any Hollywood shootout. With the capture of Lasota, law enforcement finally had the alleged puppet master in hand. On February 18, 2025, Jack, Michelle Zyko, and Daniel Blank appeared via video conference for a bail hearing in Cumberland, Maryland. It was here that the legend of Ziz met the cold reality of a courtroom. The judge wholeheartedly agreed with the prosecutor, citing the obvious risks. His Honor ordered Ziz, Zyko, and Blank held without bail, effectively clipping the wings of these flight risks. After years on the run, Jack Lasota was going nowhere fast, except a jail cell. Jack, however, couldn't resist making an impression. During the hearing, speaking slowly and with an air of incredulity, she insisted on her innocence. "I haven't done anything wrong," Jack declared to the judge, and then promptly pivoted to complain that jail wasn't accommodating her vegan diet. She claimed she was so famished behind bars that she was in a mild state of delirium from lack of plant-based food. Apparently, in Jack's mind, the real crime here was the absence of tofu and kale in the Allegheny County lockup. One might say she had bigger fish to fry if it would not violate her ethical veganism. The judge was unmoved by Jack's dietary distress. The priority was making sure Darth Ziz stayed put this time. After all, this was a woman whose extremist group of highly educated anarchists had left a trail of bodies over 2+ years. The prosecutor even recounted the Zizians' greatest hits of horror for the record: the sword attack in California, nearly killing Kurt Lind and killing one cult member; the double homicide in Pennsylvania, killing the Zyko parents; the landlord's assassination in California, killing Kurt Lind to obstruct justice; the highway shootout in Vermont, killing Agent Chris Malond and cultist Felix Buchholz. 4 violent incidents, 6 people dead. This wasn't just a quirky vegan club. It was, in the prosecutor's word, an extremist cult with a body count. In the hearing, glimpses of the Zizians' background emerged. These weren't drifters or high school dropouts. They were young, highly intelligent computer scientists who met online, bonded over fringe ideologies, and spiraled into violence. Their online writings revealed obsessions with radical veganism, gender identity, and even artificial intelligence. At the center of it all was Jack, a transgender woman with a degree in computer engineering. She wrote under the name Ziz on a blog titled Sinceriously. Yes, Sinceriously, where she mused about vampires controlling the state and the Sith religion giving her license to do anything she wanted. If all of this sounds like a comic book villain origin story, it kind of is. Jack Ziz Lasota fashioned herself as a sort of malcontent messiah, dressing in black robes and declaring autonomy from society like a Sith Lord in exile. She reportedly told friends she was harassed by cops for wearing my religious attire as a Sith, insisting that as a Sith, I'm religiously required to do whatever I want. The Zizians combined this sci-fi cosplay with real-world radicalism. They were strict vegans, kept to bizarre sleep schedules, and enforced rigid control over members' behavior. Cult experts note that restricting diet and sleep is a classic way to control followers' minds. It's as if Jack read the Evil Overlord Handbook and decided to hit the ground running. But if Jack Lasota saw herself as a grand revolutionary or galactic villain, the final act of this saga lands her in a much less glamorous role: defendant. As of this episode, Jack Ziz Lasota sits in a Maryland jail, awaiting trial on the Maryland charges, while investigators from multiple states work to connect the dots and bring additional charges for various murders. Co-defendants Michelle Zyko and Daniel Blank remain in custody as well. Max Snyder awaits trial in California for Kurt Lind's murder, and Teresa Youngblood faces federal charges for the border shootout. It's important to take a moment and remember the victims at the heart of this twisted tale: an elderly man who just wanted to protect his home, a mother and father gunned down during holiday season, a federal agent doing his job to keep the border safe. The tragedy is real, and so is the senselessness of what Jack Lasota's group has done. The final chapter has yet to be written in court, but one thing's for sure: faking death won't help Jack Ziz Lasota escape accountability a second time. So remember, if you come across an obituary for a wanted criminal, don't celebrate too soon. They just might be sinceriously full of Sith. For Absolutely Criminal, I'm Tiffie. Until next time, clutch your blueberries just a little bit tighter and let the darkness come alive.